So when I talk about a standard Vienna marking, it normally means just a mark on the forehead or the nose area, because that's what we normally see with a presentation of a Vienna gene. And you are right, as of now, Vienna markings are a disqualification. With that being said, there is, in theory, a way to make it so they wouldn't be. If we could get a certificate of development started to where we had Vienna markings that were uniform across all colors with a standard that multiple breeders would follow, and we could get that certificate of development from the ARBA and work on making it an official color or an official marking, I guess in theory we could make it to where it wasn't a disqualifying mark. With that being said, I think it's extremely improbable. It's kind of like the situation with the lion heads like quite a while back ago, where they were having trouble with the certificate of development because too many breeders were breeding lion heads and they weren't true to the certificate of development, so it kept getting pushed back and back and back and back and back until it finally became a breed much later on. It would be a bit of an interesting experiment to see if we could get enough boo breeders to get together and create show quality Vienna marked animals to a standard with a certificate of development, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be a thing because most blue-eyed white breeders aren't focused on Vienna markings. To add another level to adding Vienna marked to a project on top of an already difficult project with blue-eyed whites, I think for a lot of breeders that would be a bit too much work and a bit too much of a challenge when we already have a color that is so hard to get and so hard to work with. Plus, the certificate of development process makes my head hurt, and I don't fully understand it to a completion yet. Like, I get the gist of it, and I get the idea of it, but to actually do it in practice would be a huge challenge to my knowledge. One I don't necessarily have time for right now. But maybe someday. So this is an old video from my drafts, but I wanted to show you this scissor beak. And it's basically just a cross beak and a baby chick that didn't make it through the egg. This can be caused by your temperature being too low in your incubator, the eggs not being turned often enough, or inbreeding with your stock, and bad genetics.
Who's a bad dog? Who's a bad dog? Who's the worst puppy? Who's a bad dog? Who's a bad dog? Who's so bad? Oh, so bad! Ah! Not Panda, because he's the bestest boy.
So y'all know that I'm pretty laissez-faire when it comes to how you want to raise your rabbits. I give you the way I do it, and then I back it up with science, because I'm very research-based. But something that needs to get better on all fronts is biosecurity. Something I've seen a lot of on our Meat Rabbit groups on Facebook, and these are people who are in these groups all over the country, is a lot of outbreaks in RHVD2. And this isn't a simple disease that you can take care of with a bit of mitigation like coccidiosis. It's not something that's going to be slow. It's not a disease that you can catch and get rid of. This is a disease that strikes fast and will take out your entire herd. And although there is a vaccine, that doesn't mean that that is the solution. For one, it's very hard to get in a lot of places, and for two, in many places, it's quite expensive. Mitigation for this kind of disease is as follows. If possible, get your rabbits off the ground and house them separately, preferably on wire bottom cages that are easy to sanitize. This disease spreads rapidly and is extremely contagious. It's not killed by heat, it's not killed by cold, and it can live in the soil and on surfaces for up to 4 months. The only thing that I know that kills it is 10% bleach solution. Stop touching wild bunnies. I don't care how young they look. Do not put them into a nesting box with a nursing doe. The amount of posts that I see from breeders on Facebooks who try to foster wild rabbits in with their mamas, that is not good biosecurity. That one act can take out your entire herd and spread RHVD2 not only to your own rabbitry, but other rabbitries in your area because you can carry that. I have barn clothes and I have outside of barn clothes. Meaning if I travel off my property, the clothes I'm wearing don't go into my barn. I change them and I wash them because we have active cases right down the road. Granted, it's about 100 miles away, but that's still too close for my comfort when it comes to a wild population. That stuff is like wildfire. It'll spread fast and deadly. And if you suspect one of your rabbits or one of your wild rabbit population areas has an outbreak of RHVD2, don't just throw that animal away. Double Ziploc that animal in a bag, put it into your fridge, not your freezer, call your state vet. They'll have procedures for you so you can get it reported and you can get a necropsy on it to verify it is RHVD2. This was going away and it was getting better, and now there are a lot more outbreaks. This isn't about me not getting to go to show. This is about people literally losing their entire breeding stock. Lots of rabbits are gonna die.
Y'all, I'm about to lose my mind. The sound on this has been insane. Mwah. Ugh, it's driving me nuts. Test sound, test sound. Y'all, I'm so sorry for the sound. I am trying to improve, but I have filmed this video about 6 times, and I just wanted to show you how pretty Lulu was, because she is 3 months old, and she is just gorgeous, and she is posing so nicely and being such a good girl as she runs away. Come back, Lulu. Come back, baby. Come back, Jack. Come back. But I just wanted to give an update on Lulu, because she's gorgeous, and she has a beautiful compact type. She wants to be a running pose baby right now, but look, she's learning to pose on her own. She stays there. She's gorgeous. And look at this fur. She's so gorgeous. I just keep wanting to tell you all about it, and my sound won't cooperate. So, yeah, Lulu's gorgeous. She's not going to make weight for next weekend's show. I'm hoping to go next weekend, but soon, so very soon, she'll probably be at her first junior show at 4 months. So, not a 3-monther just because she's slightly down on size, but look, at 3 months, look how minimal those hip dips are. She is almost completely rounded at 3 months old. Normally I don't expect to see them this rounded out in this area because this is one of the last areas to fill in, till closer to 5 months. So the fact that she has so much definition in this area is just fantastic, and as always, I am so pleased with Lulu, and this year's litters, y'all, have been a vast improvement from last year's, and I am just so happy. So, my beautiful Lulu. She's gorgeous.
So I think I need the Simpsons "I'm in danger" sound, because I'm a little spastic on what I think needs to be on hand for first aid. Like, this doesn't even go over the meds I have in the fridge, like my antibiotics or my dewormers. So I can definitely do a video on spotted bunnies, also known as broken patterned. But when we talk, we're going to have to talk about Rex, both mini and standard Rex when it comes to that, because that's what I have in the barn for examples, and that is what I am a so-called expert in, let's say. And I got my favorite book to help. Alright, while I talk about definitions, y'all can stare at some pretty spotted bunnies. My broken babies! Alright, so when we talk about brokens, group 6, the ARVA states that a pattern is worth 5 points, and that all broken pattern animals are to have a balanced nose marking. No preference given for a butterfly evenly balanced nose spot. A colored eye marking around each eye and color on both ears. The body is to be evenly distributed as a spot, patch, or blanket pattern. Preference is given to an evenly balanced pattern. The feet below the ankle joint are to be pure white. Now, it used to be that the total amount of coloration on a broken pattern animal is not to cover less of 10% or more than 50% of the entire animal. With that being said, that was recently changed to basically said broken in appearance. So you see that little guy right there? He's a DQ because he doesn't have a nose mark or a butterfly, but if you look at his back here, look at the little spots. Technically, he is a broken, even though in past years that would have gotten him DQ'd, as well as his adorable little face. So in my barn, I only have spot and blanket patterns. So Mr. Strawberry here is a blanket pattern. So is Alpha behind him. For Spot, we have Mr. Lepoux here, and 2. I think eye markings are pretty self-explanatory, but when we talk about nose markings, that's a nose marking compared to butterflies. And when it comes to color, as long as it is an approved ARBA color, the pattern can be broken in it. So here in the barn, I currently have broken casters, broken chinchillas, broken blacks, tricolors. I think that's all color-wise I have, at least currently. I'll get broken blues, broken chocolates, that kind of thing. It just depends on the litters that I have. I prefer broken blacks, if you couldn't tell. But I hope that answered all your questions on brokens. If not, leave it in the comments below and I'm happy to answer more. Oh goodness, the bunny doesn't want pet. She likes to yell at Beelzebub because Beelzebub doesn't like pet by little humans. Beelzebub is not a tiny human bunny, but she is very sweet. So when it comes to cages, I have 2 brands that I really like. One is Pet Lodge. This is my secondary favorite because you have to put it together with J-clips, and J-clips are a pain in the butt to take apart again if you would ever need to move your setup and break it down. But it's a really nice, sturdy cage. I didn't like the connection that came with this that would help you open and shut the door, so I just added a kennel clip down here to the bottom. My favorite cages are the Do More cages, and that's mostly because they break down and can be easily stored. And then also, as long as you don't have a rabbit, like a couple of mine that figure out the opening device, they stay shut really easy. I also like that you can make your own racks for them, like this. Or they have the option of their prefab racks that you can set up. And again, unlike the J-clips, they're nut and bolt, so they're really easy to take apart. And if you don't have nuts and bolts, because I got a couple of racks for like stupid cheap for like $5 because the nut and bolts didn't come included, you can just put them together with zip ties. So yeah, Do More are by far my favorite. A problem with them though is they are Tractor Supply brand, so getting them out of the United States can be a bit challenging. In that case, I would definitely check out Pet Lodge or All Things Bunny. So this is Toad. Toad is a little silver fox baby, and as you can see, he has a little white stripe on his forehead. I have noticed that the little stars on the foreheads do molt out. You won't see them after the kits hit about 8 to 12 weeks of age. It does seem to fade away. Now, what I have noticed is Toad also has this little white mark. I should call him Vanessa Jr., that little white mark right there. I've noticed the nose marks don't go away, and his mom Vanessa does have one, and it hasn't disappeared yet. So odds are this one is not going to stay in our breeding program, but if it were just the star on the forehead and it faded away, I would be okay with that. Now, typically when you are breeding silver fox, you do want to keep the kits that don't have the stars. With that being said, if you have kits that have the stars on their foreheads that fade out, and they are better quality than the ones without stars, I try to breed quality over coloration on our stock. So with that being said, as long as those fade away, keep the better stock. But if you do have the opportunity to not breed that into your lines, that is ideal.